Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahshai, Ba'ashem HaRakah Kudosh. Double honors unto the elder apostles of Great Millstone, all well. And shalom to the hopeful elect. This is Paya Allah. This is News and Prophecy, Prophecy and News Update. The date today is the 20, bear me one moment. Thursday 21st, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Today is the 25th, I believe, of November, or 24th, excuse me, Salakia. Um, but basically, yeah, measuring the time diligently, um, making sure that, watching as well as praying and seeing how far along we are and, the times we're in. So right now, we have a lot of things going on, really on the advent of Donald Trump, which is Nero, being put into, or being voted into power. All right. And its inauguration in the coming months or so. All right. Um, basically, you've had Biden make, there was a bit of I forget how to say it, but basically, Biden was eyeing doing certain things, and then he basically, made a move. He's basically forced, you know, more or less the presidential run of Donald Trump into a certain um situation by initiating arming Ukraine to attack Russia, and also you had the UK, Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, siding with America in aiding the Ukrainians to do that as well, showing you that this is that mother and daughter relationship between the UK and USA is alive and thriving. All right, but the point being is that through them doing that, it brought about talks about impeaching um, Biden, all right, which there's not been too much development from what I last see yesterday, and it's brought about, it's gone from Bitcoin thriving, the economy skyrocketing, everything looking good on the advent of Donald Trump ascending into power as the for a second term as president. Now it's gone to a point where people are worrying about being drafted to go to war. All right, and this really shows you that this is like a woman in labor. All right, a thing that is going hot and cold, and even when it's cold, it's just on a back burner. It's not actually cold. It's just it's keeping warm. All right, until it's time to drive up that heat. So I got a few articles. Law willing, I may do another uh sitting of an update, all right, on news and prophecy update. But that is all down to if the law wills at the end of the day, because I haven't done one of these in a minute. I've got an abundance of articles that I can go back and draw from um, through different periods to speak on different elements of what's going on now. But let's see, however the spirit wills. So this is the first one from Yahoo News, all right, or Yahoo.com, and the headline reads: Britain now directly involved in Ukraine war after Storm Shadow strike, says Russia. All right. So Britain, Russia, the United States of America, they all belong to one beast system, being that of the Edomites. All right. Or I said beast system, but one power system of the Edomites. This is the reign of Esau Edom, all right, otherwise known as the so-called white man. He has reigned over the world during this time, all right, and with that power, this is where we're at is where things become problematic because in order for a kingdom, Yahushua broke it down as far as concerning how to go against another power structure. He said it's impossible for him to fight. Um, to fight against Satan if he be Satan, because if that's the case, then Satan is done, basically, it's finished. So the point being is that now that we can see that these different fractions are appearing amongst the Edomites, it really shows you that the kingdom is over, right? It spells, it shows what time we're in, all right? And this divide is a great one, and it's going to culminate into our Lord's return, World War III, but first with um the passing of the sea hip, all right, basically being put into the out into the world, and everyone having to subscribe to that system. So with all that being said, headline: Britain now directly involved, as it says. Let's read a bit of this. Britain is now directly involved in a war in Ukraine after Kiev used its Storm Shadow missiles to strike targets in Russia. The Russian ambassador has claimed the UK is believed to have allowed the weapons to be used by Ukrainian forces within the Kursk, Kursk region of Russia, while the US has given permission for its ATACMS weapons to be fired at targets in Russia. Speaking to Sky News, ambassador to the UK, Andre Keelan, said Britain was directly involved in this war because this firing cannot happen without NATO staff, British staff as well. He went on, the US administration's support by France and the UK has made a deliberate decision to make these strikes, which seriously escalates the situation and it can bring a collision between the nuclear powers. All right, now that being said, it says a whole lot, and that speaks to World War III, which you understand is going to be it's going to be a firefight, all right, a world war where it's not going to be done like World War One or World War Two. It's going to be done by means of missiles flying from one place to another. All right. Mr. Keelan was asked whether there was a difference between Ukraine using British or US made missiles and Russia using Chinese, Iranian, North Korean equipment or manpower. He responded on that subject. I can say easily that we have plenty of mercenaries from different countries that are fighting right now on the side of Ukraine. We just have seen in area, in the Kursk area of the Polish unit, which has a special uniform worn by Polish soldiers. So what's the matter? Responding to his comments, a Downing Street spokesperson told the broadcaster that the government would not be deterred or distracted by commentary from Vladimir Putin or the Russian ambassador. All right, so the rebuttal that he said is that basically, and this is a big tidbit, all right, he's saying that the people that are fighting on behalf of Ukraine were seen in Polish uniforms, so they're basically Polish soldiers. So speaking to the point as far as the battlefront of Ukraine versus Russia is not actually Ukraine versus Russia. It's actually Russia and their allies, all right, versus NATO and Ukraine. Ukraine and NATO, basically, all right. Those that side with the West, as you could say. So it shows you that really it's something that's, a lot of people are not aware of, but it's something that's been out there for the most part from the beginning of this war, that America and various different nations have foot soldiers battling on the behalf of the Ukrainians. All right. So them saying, they got these Chinese, North Korean, and Iranians fighting on their behalf. It's basically them going like for like. All right. Responding to his comments, a Downing Street spokesperson told the broadcaster that the government would not be deterred or distracted by the blah blah blah. Britain had previously allowed Ukraine only to use its tanks, anti-tank missiles, and other equipment inside Russia. Earlier on Thursday, Russian President Vladimir Putin threatened to strike the UK after confirming reports that Moscow had launched a medium-range ballistic missile attack on the Ukrainian military facility, which they're also saying now is a hypersonic missile. So there's a lot of hubbub and uproar or a tumult basis concerning what was used and how serious this is. And from one diagram I saw, what they actually did when they launched their missiles, they hit again, it was like for like. They hit the quote their military bases, and they did like a blackout in, I believe, Kiev, and it's not Donetsk, Odessa and Kiev. They basically blacked it out, and they hit a couple places where there were military, places. So they did a couple things just to flex bicep and let it be known. Look, we're on timing as well. All right. He said in a televised address in response to the use of American and British long-range weapons, um, on November 21st of this year, the Russian armed forces launched a combined strike on one of the facilities of the Ukrainian defense industry. One of the newest Russian medium-range missile systems was tested in combat conditions, in this case, with a ballistic missile in a non-nuclear hypersonic warhead. So they did use hypersonics. Crazy. All right. He added, so he's just letting them know, listen, we got that thing there, that thingy thing. So if you want to play games, and this really just shows you, this is, we're, we're getting closer and closer to World War III. So it says he added, we consider ourselves entitled to use our weapons against military facilities of those countries that allow their weapons to be used against our facilities. His address came after Kiev claimed that Russia had fired an intercontinental ballistic missile, a weapon designed for long distance nuclear strikes, at the city of Dnipro on Thursday. But the claim was disputed by the three US officials who told Reuters it was an intermediate range ballistic missile that has a smaller range. All right, um, so they're basically downplaying the strength of that, and that's something. I mean, hey, let's see, because one of the things they said is that they have hypersonic missiles as well, but in reality they don't. All right, we haven't seen that technology, so them saying that that wasn't used is I believe is in the same line as a thought of that. All right, I can't read this article because they've switched up. But I'll read a little bit. It says this is from the Telegraph.co.uk. It says Putin ready to cripple Britain with cyber attacks, Mr. warns, and that's what I said happened over in Odessa and over in Kiev. All right, so it really shows you it's starting to move, and even they had a cyber attack on the London Underground. All right, whereby child passes and certain passes weren't allowed to be used, and if you because I suffered to it as well, whereby if you used if you had a problem with your travel card or your oyster or anything, to call them up and try and sort it out. Your oyster card is like a RFID NFC contactless technology that's been used, that's a replacement of paper tickets, even though they're still paper tickets, but it's a way of transporting through the underground, all right, or on the public transport system. And so there was a whole issue with it. So till today, I believe in some cases it still don't work. But I think it may have been relieved. But the point being is that these cyber attacks have been happening, and they are crippling. Now, even the other thing I've been watching, it's funny enough because our camp is by where this place is. There's a TV series on Netflix called Temple, and Temple's a station on the district line, and it's right by where we hold camp. All right, which is by the Thames River near Cleopatra's Needle, London Bridge, quite a few, hotspots in the city, basically. Some quite, like, what's his name? The Strand, uh, what's that? Covent Garden, like few key places in the city, all right, where it's a city of London, basically. So, with that being said, in the TV show, the second season, which I'm on now, the daughter basically is turning into like a a revolutionist. I forgot what they call it. It's not a revolution, but like a protester, one of those people. And now the big thing they're saying they want to do is bring about the TFL to a standstill. And the guy that's working with them is basically, over them is basically saying, nah, man, that's a bit, you do that, it gets a bit more techie. So I ain't finished watching it, but it's just this is one of them things that's possible. All right, the UK infrastructure could really suffer in a way that's unbelievable. All right. people getting trapped on the underground, all this different type of stuff. Electronic strike by Russia against UK infrastructure could turn out the lights off for millions. Like I said, they already did the same from what I remember in Odessa and Kiev. Russia is prepared to launch a wave of cyber attacks on Britain that could turn out the lights for millions, a cabinet minister will warn at a NATO conference on Monday. All right. So let me see what this is saying. Just read a bit of this. It says threat uh, being taken seriously is from express.co.uk. Threat being taken seriously after unidentified drones spotted over US air bases in UK. The United States Air Force said it was unclear at this stage whether the drones were considered hostile. All right, the British Ministry of Defence is taking the threat seriously after a number of unidentified drones were spotted over three US air bases in Britain. Small unmanned aerial systems were spotted over RAF Lakenheath and RAF Mildenhill in Suffolk and RAF Feltwell in Norfolk, between November 20th and 22nd, right? Why is it breaking? Really thought that was something serious, man. Uh, let's read on. If it allows me. A spokesperson for the British Ministry of Defence said, "We take threats seriously and maintain robust measures at defence sites. This includes counter-drone security capabilities. We won't comment further on security procedures." The United States Air Force said it was unclear at this stage whether the drones were considered hostile and are continuing to monitor our airspace. USAF declined to comment on whether any defense mechanisms were used, but said it retains the right to protect installations. Right, so there's a good possibility it was hostile. A spokesperson for US Air Forces in Europe said, "We can confirm the small unmanned aerial systems were spotted in the vicinity of and over RAF Lakenheath, RAF Maldenhall, and RAF Feltwell." That's quite difficult for me to say the RAF. Oh, that's why I'm saying RAF. RAF. All right, between November 20 and 22nd. The number of UASs fluctuated and they range in size and configuration. Now, it even, it sparks the thought that it's possible they could be chariots as well. Who knows? All right, but it could be chariots under the guise of being hostiles in the light of Russia and whatever to bring about more commotion, or it could truly be someone you know having drones and fucking about, or it really could be Russia and they're on some shit, flexing bicep to let the other side know where it is. All right, and it really just shows you that the back and forth between these two different sides is raging. All right, it ain't all dandelions and sunflowers. There's a lot of shit going on. All right, so it says the USA's UASs were actively monitored, and installation leaders determined that one of the incursions impacted base residents and critical infrastructure. No, I just realized I'm going so hard in these articles. I'm not reading no precepts. All right. So let me kind of just get into some of these articles. I mean precepts. All right. So the first one speaking about they could use, nuclear. There was no use of nuclear power. All right. So there's the book of Isaiah 9:5. It says, "For every battle of the warriors with confused noise and garments rolled in blood." All right. So warfare, it always happens in that sense. You have the hewing of swords into people's, flesh and different shit happening. But this warfare we have of today, all right, is going to be a firefight, all right, as it says, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire, all right. So this World War III is going to be with burning and fuel of fire, all right, because it's prophesied of three woes in the book of Revelation 8 and 13, all right, and it even goes on to say the second woe is past and the third the first one um has passed and the two drove quickly. All right, I forget where in Revelation 9, but it's the one I'm going to read, Revelation 11 and 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. And that's the one that's going to be with flame of fire. All right, this is going to be a firefight between, really, it's going to be between, it's weighing, measuring up to be between Russia and America, but really it's going to be America's allies and Russia and the rest of the world are going to destroy America. Something's going to happen as far as, and we've seen, little glimpses of it in, what America did in, they're saying it may have been another nation, all right, but in my personal opinion, I think America stands, the question to ask is Q Bono, who benefits? And who I can see from all that benefits the most is America by the Nord Stream pipelines being blown up, all right, because they were turned off already anyway. There'll be no reason for Russia to blow it up, nor for the Europeans, unless they've got some kind of financial interest with America, all right, as far as, that thing being established. But the people that benefit the most is America, who then could make money off feeding energy into the European mainland. So reading on, let's next precept I want to get is there's a precept I was gonna read. It's a lot, man. What did I just read? I just read third world coming quickly. Ah, it's gone. But that being a point, a collision of nuclear powers. I may just read this actually. Revelation 17, 16, and 17. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. Alright, so something's gonna happen that's gonna cause him to change sides, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For the Most High have put in their hearts, in their minds, to fulfill His will. Right, so them being together right now and having an alignment is because the Heavenly Father has willed it to be so. All right, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. Right, until the time when it's time for them to be destroyed. All right, so let's move on to, I spoke of the cyber attacks. Um, so I'll read this a little bit from this as well, because this is one of the main things coming to mind with all the situation going on. So this is from Politico.eu. The headline reads: Europe says Sweden's conscription model to solve troop shortage. All right, this is a relatively old article, came out in July, a few months back of this year. All right, but it speaks to a point as far as what the ideal model is for them to conscribe um, the military personnel in the event of World War III. All right, which is, World War III. There's gonna be, as it says, one of the scriptures I'm gonna pull out, it speaks about the bridegrooms dying, the bridegrooms losing their grooms in the wars. All right, it speaks to them being a plural. All right, molten myriad, and the Lord spoke to that as far as being wars and rumors of wars. All right. So it says Germany, the Netherlands, and others are looking at Sweden's system with screens over 100, which screens over 100,000 teenagers a year. All right. So that's how they want to bring about a steady flow of soldiers for warfare. So it says, welcome to Yeah, I can't read that, man. Tejgislasvägen 29A, a nondescript office block on the edge of Stockholm, and an emerging must-visit stop for European defense officials trying to figure out how to get more people into uniform. This conscription testing center, along with two others in Gothenburg and Malmo, will screen 110,000 teenagers this year, call about a quarter of those for physical and mental exams, and then draft the best suited third to serve between 9 and 15 months in the military, whether they want to or not. All right. And that's the underlining point. All right. Whether they want to or not. It is a model designed to restaff a Swedish army hollowed out after the end of the Cold War. Now, what we got to remember as well is when you deal with Sweden, Sweden is like like onto Germany being the forward thinking. They must be an extent. I'm pretty sure Sweden right now is like an extension of Germany in the sense of when it speaks about the wise men of Teeman. All right, they must be Teemanites because whatever Sweden does basically kind of sets pace, all right, or break sets forth a trend as far as Europe to fall in line with, all right, and this is why this is so important because you got to remember things like the sea hip being put into place, different revolutions with technology, all have started in Sweden, and then it's extended itself out throughout Europe, mainland, and the Western world. So it says it is a model designed to restart a Swedish army hollowed out after the end of the Cold War. The country's leaders were forced into a U-turn after Russia annexed the Ukrainian region of Crimea a decade ago, showing that a threat was again rising in the east. All right, so basically they've the people have been chilling. They've been fought. They fell back. They thought it's time to enjoy life. The pride of life and whatnot. But now with on the advent of Putin and Crimea and being annexed into the Russian possession, now they feel like the threat for warfare is really on the horizon. And there's multiple other articles. I've got other articles I've read where they spoke about more different nations. I believe it was Norway, like European nations speaking about conscription. And this article obviously speaks to the same point. As we're going to read, actually, it says it right here. It is a system grabbing attention in major European capitals, including Berlin, which is Germany, all right, in Germany, London in the UK or England, and and Amsterdam, which is in the Netherlands, right? Where officials are Netherlands, Holland. I don't even know the difference like that, but I believe it's the same thing. Where officials are scrambling to find ways to beef up their own depleted forces. Swedish Defense Minister Paul Johnson has highlighted the value of conscription in a series of recent speeches. Conscription is a basic prerequisite, prerequisite for the armed forces' continued growth, he said during a recent parliamentary session in Stockholm. The needs of our military organization cannot be met with hired personnel alone. All right, the number of conscripts drafted into the Swedish military has doubled to around 8,000 this year from 4,000 in 2017, with gender neutral mandatory military service was reintroduced after a 7-year break. So now, equal rights, equal fights, man. So you women are going to be called up as well. All right, really showing you some shit. The government has said it wants to raise that to 10,000 per year in the near term, while the system's design would appear to allow for expansion beyond that if necessary. That builds on the 14,850 full-time personnel in the Swedish military. All right, so yeah, you can read the rest of this article, but I'm gonna close out with a couple precepts on this point. All right. Uh, thinking of some precepts. Let me just read this and just get to the point. All right. So I'll read straight to the point. Second Ezra 16:33. The virgins shall mourn. Let me actually, I know what I'm going to read first. Read this. It's Matthew 24 and 24 and 4. So it says, And Yahushua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am anointed, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. All right, now that's the main point. You shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So we see that these things that are happening right now, these wars, right, being ramping up, and the rumors of war, like a rumor of war I was mentioning is between Taiwan and China. It could happen and become a war, but as it stands right now, it proves a point of it being a rumor of war. Then you have an active war dealing with Ukraine and Russia, right? These things are basically hopping right out of the scriptures and coming to life, all right? So these are the things that we're seeing. But now to delve even deeper into it, this, as I had before, Second Ezra 16 and 30, 32 and 33, or 33 and 34. Um, I'll start from 32. And the earth shall be laid waste, and the fields thereof shall wax old, and her ways and all her paths shall grow full of thorns, because no man shall travel therethrough. So this speaks to a breakdown of society, right? I spoke of in the book of Ecclesiastes as well, and we're seeing it right now. The stars falling from heaven, the grind and cease, the grind and cease. Basically, work, um, grinding to a halt. A lot of people are being made redundant, even with Labour's recent over here in the UK. Labour, basically, took a more lax approach to national insurance, right, whereby people paid less, so you got more on your paycheck. But now what's happened is they're recouping that money through the employers having to pay on behalf of the employees. So it's creating a thing where now employers want to get rid of employees, because of redundancies and whatnot, to basically make up that margin. All right, and more of these things are going to happen. It's just going to wax worse and worse and worse. All right, and you're going to see society come to a grinding halt. All right, for these scriptures to come true. The virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. All right, the women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. All right, and even we're seeing right now with the technology and the social dynamics that are at play in this day and age, that a lot less women and men are having sex the way they did in generations before, because everyone sat in front of a screen. All right, validation isn't no more, in going on dates and kissing and hugging and having sex and all this type of stuff. A lot more of it is found through attention seeking online, all right, and different things like that, whereby you have a lot less um, interactions, face to face interactions through men and women. All right. But these things are going to basically drive to this point. All right. But the main point here, which I'm going to go into, it says the virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. Verse 34, because it says, In the wars shall their bridegroom be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. All right. So it's really going to show you a whole different type of time. All right. And these things are happening right now, culminating to that. to where even it says, I read this in Isaiah 32. So it says Isaiah 32 and 2, and a man shall be as a hiding place, as an hiding place from the wind, and a covert from the tempest, as rivers of water in a dry place, as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land. And those are things I previously just read it spoke to, all right, talking about the breakdown of society. But it's saying a man shall be a hiding place from that the tempest, the wind, etc., etc. And this goes into Isaiah 4 about a man of the Lord. You know, Isaiah 13, it speaks about a man being made more pure than a wedge of Ophir. Isaiah 4 1, you know, it speaks about 7 women taking hold onto one man. So you're gonna have a lot of women that are gonna be manless in that day, all right, with a husband, but then you're gonna have a few women, handful of women, all right, and it can vary in numbers depending on the man. Just like when you deal with during the time of Moses, all right, the time of the Exodus, when you had the children of Israel and you had the manna, and everyone took their according to their eating, you know, according to their lot. You know, the men of the Lord, they're gonna get as many women as the Heavenly Father desire for them to have, what they you know set out to deal with, and they're gonna be able to deal and keep them in place and be a hiding place for them. All right, but for the most part, if you come across one of those men, or even if you know one of them now, or you have one of them in your possession, cleave onto them, man. And Lord willing, he'll be, you know, the Spirit will still dwell upon him during that time, and you'll be saved through all of these hard things to come. But you can see right now this thing's going in one direction, and that's it. So with that, I pray you're edified to the next one. Say shalom, 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 shalom.